Hey guys, Neo here with yet another patch opinion video. Yes, of course, 1.32.10 is out. Remo gave his opinion. It's all over Reddit and the forums and the discords, of course, but I want to take some time and give you my thoughts as well. For this video, I will not go through the patch notes. You probably know all of this right now. You know the developer's notes. If not, pause the video right now. Look into the description. There's the link. You can read it all yourself. I think this just prolongs the entire video. What I want to do is talk about what this patch means, and then of course my opinion on the patch and maybe some things that could be addressed very easily and that they should do with this patch. So without further ado, I know you don't want to wait for too long. We check this out. And first of all, this patch, having this PTR came out of nowhere, and it's really cool because for so long now, people kept echo chambering the reports of, oh, there's no classic team anymore, or that dev team is gone, nobody will ever patch anything in Warcraft anymore. That was debunked already post BlizzCon, but of course, bad news travel fast. Good news travel slowly, I guess. And the absence of Warcraft 3 at BlizzCon was, of course, a clear indicator that this is not priority for Activision Blizzard. But now we have proof that people are working on the game, they take care of balance. And how many? We don't know, but there is apparently a team at Activision Blizzard at the moment thinking about this, and that is the best news, so the game is not dead. Thumbs up for that. Was really cool to see how everybody was raving about this and discussing it immediately. So before we go into the patch notes, I want to point out one thing which kind of grinds my gears. In general, the patch notes are fine. There's no big insult in there as in prior versions. There's no big mistake in there as in prior versions. So one thumb up for that, but a thumb down for another thing. So they basically blame COVID for the delay of ladder and player profiles. That's incredibly lazy and just wrong, obviously. Everybody is adapting to the pandemic, of course, but in the meantime, a couple of hobby coders were able to produce W3 champions. Blizzard were not. Obviously, they probably had to rebuild the team and put a new person in charge of this. So this is the result of a lot, and there were probably some turmoils behind the scene. But blame yourself, not the pandemic. This is not the pandemic's fault. This is just your fault, right? So with that out of the way, I have to point to another thing. Maybe, just maybe, Activision Blizzard, you could pay your CEO a little less in bonuses and don't fire 50 to 200 to 800 people, and then you would have the manpower to work on such things, even though it's low priority. That would be cool fan service, but we know that is kind of a thing of the past. But just an idea. Maybe not 200 million for your CEO, but maybe keep a couple of more workers employed. That's my advice, but of course I am not in charge of that, thankfully. So with that out of the way, that's just my 2 cents. It's really cool that they waited until the DreamHack is over to push this out. I think it's a good timing. It's a little bit of a slow phase at the moment. Yes, we're playing some tournaments, but there's no WGL in the next week or something. They said this patch will be coming out on April or midst of April. That might clash with the start of the DreamHack spring season. Gonna be tricky. I hope they find a nice timing. And if you need some more time, or if you really take care of esports, then please take these 2 weeks, delay it a little more. We wait since October. We can wait a couple of weeks more. Don't rush this. Don't ruin tournaments with this, please. So, with that said, let's go into the nitty-gritty, into the patch notes. I listed everything kind of up there in a way I want to go through with this, because one of the biggest changes is actually far down in the patch notes. And first of all, before we go into this, the bug fix is one of the biggest things that is not addressed in this list here, but there is a bug where rally points can give away the location of your enemy and also what race he is. I never thought it would be fixed. I thought putting it on YouTube was a mistake, and making it publicly available. But mistake by me, they fixed that. Incredible. I'm super happy about that. I'm more happy about the bug fix than anything else in this patch. Second of all, item value increased when you sell it. So when you sell an item, usually you got 50%. Now that's boosted up to 70% in the current version of this PTR. What this means is that even if you get a bad item, you can sell it and can get something else. A circlet, a potion, if there's a marketplace, whatever. That is in general the right idea. Because some items don't fit your build, don't fit your hero. We don't want to depend on RNG too much, and we want to flatten the RNG curve in this game. So for that, thumbs up. It's a global value. It's easy to change if you want to address it and change it. But this is extreme, especially for races that might sell the town portal early, like Orc with a Blade Master. If you want to expand, you can do that and get an expansion faster. In general, there's more gold in the game. This might lead to heroes that are not as stacked anymore. And we kind of love our heroes if they're a little pimp, don't we? Looking at all the orcs here and, of course, all the liches out here. So, for example, 4 Claws of Attack, that's a tier 2 permanent. You get 30 gold more. For a tier 3 permanent, you get already 75 gold more. For a town portal, you get 90. This is, in my opinion, too extreme. Lower it to... Start with 60. Be careful. I don't want empty inventory slots or only consumables. I want permanent items as well that boost you, even though the situation might not be perfect for that said item. This is too drastic. In general, more gold in the game can also lead to fast attacks that might screw a lot of timings. We got to be so careful with this, because that can accelerate a game for one player. You have to make new decisions. Do you sell this item, or do you want to attack faster? Do you want another unit instead of, let's say, a Claws of Attack? Is that more damage after all? Can you push a couple of seconds faster? Soft gloves, not 25%. Too much, in my opinion. And that leads to all the human buffs that were at the very top of the patch notes. And there's a lot, especially when it comes to economy, because there's the skill, of course, improved lumber harvesting, or an ability rather, where your workers get more lumber if you research that upgrade. It was previously hidden behind tier 2 and tier 3. It is always 10 lumber more per worker. So you start with 10, obviously. With the first upgrade, you get 20. With the third upgrade, you get 30. That is a lot, and we all know how fragile human economies can be. This might be a very, very strong buff, in my opinion. And I kind of got back up by Lawlight with this. We talked about this today. So it's not just my noob thinking. This is me a little theory crafting and backing it up by the opinion of Lawlight. This means you can afford to lose more workers. Probably not on tier 1. This will probably be researched on the way to tier 2. But this is a snowball. This is a lumber snowball, a lumber avalanche, if you ask me. Because the earlier you have access to this, the earlier you gain more lumber, and the faster you can do your tech, your unit upgrades, build units, build more towers. That might, I'm only theory crafting here, open up the gate for human a lot. And I'm kind of worried about that, especially in combination with some other buffs and nerfs. So let's just assume they find a way, the humans find a way to get that into their build, and they get earlier lumber and earlier tier 3 tech, earlier dispel, earlier inner fire, earlier long rifles, all that stuff. Maybe another building even. Always a second sanctum. Something like that might be possible. So, this goes kind of hand in hand with the tower repair rate. I'm jumping rows here now. If you can repair your tower faster, because this is what this means, 33% faster if we believe Remo's math, then your workers are more protected, because obviously you have towers. That means you don't have to rebuild too many of them. That means you have more resources. In a scenario when there's already more gold in the game thanks to items, potentially, and in a situation when there's already more lumber in the game, thanks to the harvesting. This again accelerates tech, make the human upgrades easier accessible. And now I think we have to talk about human versus undead. This, of course, is a big topic of discussion. It is not really balanced. And my opinion, I know the Remos, the Todds, they watch a lot more and they play a lot more. So maybe their opinion is right. But maybe I have a point here as well. I think the balance is paper thin in this matchup. And there's no real middle ground. It's either a super strong undead from tier 1 to tier 3, to the early stages of tier 3. Or there's a super strong human with, like, the ultra late game is super hard to beat. And with that, you move this strong situation of the human far earlier into the game, narrowing down the window for the undead. Plus, it is harder to attack the base because of the repair rates. This goes hand in hand with a stronger, earlier tier 3 for humans as well, because Sundering Blades by Knights is now default. You don't have to research it anymore. So, instead of arriving at tier 3, build a knight, research Sundering Blades, you can build 2 knights that have the update and that shreds fiends at a certain timing. That is also another synergy with the nerves of the undead, because all of this here in the human department makes humans stronger earlier. Everything. Now, undead, in comparison, it's easier to harass their workers, so they might arrive at tier 3 a little slower. Impale is weaker, which is a good thing, and absolutely rightfully so, but it is weaker and weakens the undead. Frost Armor makes things way more attackable, especially by melee, especially by knights. Fiends will be shredded by knights if you are not careful. So, you see where this is going. I think this tilts the balance of human versus undead very much towards the human. And this is not the only matchup that this affects, because knights are also pretty good against Night Elf. Earlier, Inner Fire, more accessible long rifles. All of this can be very good for human versus Night Elf. Can also be pretty good against Orc for certain timings. Again, timings here. Super important. If you hit before there's bears, for example. If you have a couple of more rifles out. If you can build a second barracks because you have more lumber. All of that stuff. Whew. Then let's imagine the game isn't going too good for you. And you want to distract. You want to buy a little more time. Maybe to get your MK to 3 or your Paladin to 2. You want to buy more time, and what unit is perfect to buy time? It's the siege tanks. And that was kind of what their purpose was in previous patches. Now they cost more food, and they gave more XP. And this has been reverted, the XP department of this, which I think is very bad. It takes forever to kill that tank. It is really hard to kill a tank, except if you're Orc, of course, because then we have Raiders. But this is not really an issue. I don't want to see more tanks. It's really annoying. I think it's fair. You have to react to it nonetheless, especially if there's defense upgrades. So this should just be reverted. 85 is fine. Like, for the time you invest to kill a tank, this is absolutely fine. Or reduce the attack damage. Then you have more time to react to this Something like that. But I feel if you do all of this, like this is all buffs. Nothing from human is nerfed. You can do this, but then make them weaker in a different department maybe. Or increased cost, gold cost for lumber harvesting. So it's a trade. You have to invest more gold, so you get more lumber. Easy trade. Make knights a little more costly because they have sundering blades now. This is a very spiky balance approach, if you ask me. It's not flat at all. It's just through the roof. And that's on two parts. You make the human a lot stronger and the undead weaker. In an already paper-thin line of balance. I don't like that at all. So, another thing here. I think this covers quite a bit of what I wanted to say about that, and I hope you can follow me. Bear mana has been improved from 100 to 125 once they step out of the lore. It's kind of cool because you can now, prior to that, you could either cast one Roar, but then you don't have mana for the Master Bear form, or you wait a little to cast Reju, or you go into the Master Bear form, but then you're kind of stuck in the Master Bear form. So now, with 125, you can cast Roar and Morph, or cast a Reju immediately. That might help a lot against early rifle pushes, which is cool, which is necessary, I think. That tackles a problem in human versus Night Elf from the Night Elf side really well. What if the human decides to not do this push anymore? Then this doesn't really do a big difference. Especially when tier 3 is more accessible and knights are stronger for a late game. I feel like Night Elves need a little more in this, or on another side, you weaken human somewhere. Whew. How long are we in? 17 minutes already. That's kind of what I want to say about that. I will talk about stuff that is currently missing out. And it's not addressed in this patch. That comes later. I'm just talking about what is mentioned at the moment. Undead, Acolyte Repair, Regen for HP on Blight, nerfed, totally justified. It's crazy. We heal up in no time. Good approach. Not crazy from 4 to 3. That's the lowest you can get. Nice, I like it. Rod cooldown, reverted to 24 seconds. Maybe just do 25. 25 is a good number, right? Because we had these issues where Undead could just gather 6 skeletons and attack. That's not what we want, really. Maybe 25 it's already in the middle, right? It was 22 before, now it's 24. Maybe 25 is a sweet spot. This is a big nerf, actually. For creeping, big buff. Sorry, buff. Big buff for early game, and might get you higher levels faster. Dagger cost, nice, I like it. Will probably not change too much, but making it more accessible is a good thing and shouldn't ruin anything, I think. Impale stun had to be addressed, and in a decent way. From 1, 2, 3 to 1, 1.5, and 2, you know, there's still the stun duration when the hero is in the air. So this is cool. 25 and 33% is pretty much as narrow as it gets. Absolutely necessary and very good and careful change. Damage, though? I'm not too sure. It's a pretty big nerf on level 1, 15 lower, and it wasn't the best on level 1 anyway. So I think you should rather tackle level 3 a bit more instead of level 1. Level 2 should be fine, also with the lower duration. Level 3 is where things get really crazy, and I'm not too sure if they shouldn't do less to level 1 and more to level 3. Frost armor duration. Oh boy. This is big against human because of knights and footmen, maybe even. Rather not. Like mostly knights. This is huge against Night Elf because bears and demon hunter. And this is incredible for Orc versus Undead, because Blade Master can just attack a lot easier and a lot better. It was 4 seconds. It's really not a well-designed spell from how it's scaled, so tackling this is cool. 4 seconds, all levels to 2, 4, and 6. I think 3, 4, 5 is the better approach. It's like cutting it in half. Haven't we learned since the Keeper patch that cutting things in half or doubling things is not good? I think we did. Hello, Beetles, summoning 2 at the same time. Not good. Maybe let the frost effect scale with them. So on level 1, it is 3 seconds, but the higher the skill level is, the longer or the more you are slowed. Or it gives more armor. Well, it does it already. Let it scale with the levels on multiple levels, but not cut it in half drastically. I think this is not the right thing. That's not the right way to do balance. Remo said this is game breaking. It could be game breaking. I don't think it's that drastic, but with a couple of nerfs prior, especially on the Crypt Lord, I don't think this has to be so hard. Boneyard Tech Tree is really interesting. I'm not a big fan of trimming down tech trees too much. We had this for walkers when they got for Taurens when they got pulverized, Sundering Blades now by default, Hippo Riders by default. In the end, it turns out, making them more accessible results in more playtime for that said unit. Obviously, right? And I think it is the right thing to do. But maybe if you do such things, give him a little more build time, make it a little more costly. I really don't want to see Gargs and Worms against Night Elf again. This could very well be interesting against Human, because this basically trims down the Frostworm arrival by 45 seconds. If you don't build a sack pit on tier 2, but rather you have to do so much at the beginning of tier 3 that you save all the gold for Orb, Destroy Upgrade, Frenzy, Third Hero, whatever. You can't really afford it immediately, I think. So this should be 45 seconds, plus you don't need too much lumberjack to save 150 lumber roundabout, which can also be cool. So this will result in more Frostworms, and I think there are good counters to a very expensive and good units. Heroes with Orb. We live in a piercing damage range meta. So I think this is fine. It's interesting how this will pay out. That's for sure. So I think potentially game-breaking buffs to Human. Not enough for Night Elf, nothing to Orc, and a lot to Undead. This will certainly change Undead a bit. But some of that was absolutely necessary, so I'm not angry or anything. Aura values decreased is something I really like. In the past patch, we buffed the permanent items like the Medallion of Courage, gave them more stats. And now to even this out even more, the same drop tables or even drop tables, we decreased the effects of Aura by 25-40%, which is really nice. For example, Flute of Accuracy, it's not 10% damage increase, but 7.5. I think this could be even more in some cases. For example, if you have... Okay, my pet peeve here, Vamp Aura. Vamp Aura is too strong. It doesn't matter if it's Dreadlord or Scourge Bone Chimes. 20%, way too strong. Now it's 15 with the item. I think it can be 15 for the Dreadlord and 10 for the item. It's really, really, really strong. And breaks matchups when melee is involved. 4 knights, incredible. 4 A-bombs, incredible. 4 pretty much everything Orc has, incredible. 4 big air fights, game breaking. Hippos versus Skarks. I don't think there should be an item that is this game breaking, and would love to see it removed, but yeah. Trim it! Trim it! I said cutting it in half is not the right approach here. I eat my words for Vamp Aura. The rest is fine, and I'm looking forward to see how that scales now. Yeah, I think it's good. So that's my take of this. Now, some unaddressed things that I think are tackleable in a patch like this. It's not the biggest patch, and I like it. Because big patches lead to big imbalances, usually. So, things that can be tackled, and I think need to be tackled, are these ones. I think Thunderclap is still too strong against bears and against orc. Because there is an incredible synergy with the human and the current meta game. So, why is the Thunderclap so strong? MK is a tank, can't be killed, and he can move into the middle of an army. He probably always has mana thanks to either Brilliance Aura or Siphon Mana, or because mana potions are cheaper. And now, when there's even more gold in the game than before, you can just sell a Pariat, get a mana potion for that. Even more mana in the game then. And Thunderclap hits pretty much everything on level 2. A slight nerf on level 3. A little bit of a bigger nerf, in my opinion. Mountain Giants are lame and too strong. Too tanky, in my opinion. I kind of feel that Night Elf is a little too weak currently. So we have to make up a potential Mountain Giant nerf with something else. We gave them a little bit of mana, but we go there later. Mountain Giants, I think, without upgrades are pretty weak and too expensive, especially in supply. So in my opinion, the problem with Mountain Giants is Hardened Skin. Hardened Skin lowers an attack by 12 damage. Every attack by 12. Maybe make it 10. Just, why not? That would be a baby step, at least. I think that's a good idea. Hardened Skin is still a good upgrade. It will absolutely be necessary. Just make it a little weaker. To 10, to 9, something like that. Make up for it with more damage from a different source, and this is what Remo said already in his patch notes, and this is also what Laliat wants to have. And I think Moon as well. Needs Panda nerf? No, that's absolutely wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Buff. And the way to buff the Panda is to re-increase the damage cap to at least the former levels. That is a little extreme, maybe. I think level 1 is fine. Level 2 and 3 could need, especially level 3. Level 2 is too necessary. I think they need a higher damage cap. Maybe not the old value, but something in between. Try it. That would help Night Elf a lot. It's still hard to get a high level Panda because you need some certain map control with Keeper Demon Hunter is a nice combo, I think. Also, Warden Panda, you need to share experience between 2 heroes that really benefit from late game. It's not going to make the game easy for Night Elf, it just gives them an option, which I think is necessary. In addition to that, maybe nerf and cheapen the orb a little bit, but I'm not too sure on that. Just an idea. For Undead, I think what would help Undead a lot and make up for nerfs is to fix the Destroyer bug. I'm not too sure if everybody knows this, but Destroyers miss between 25 and 33% of their attacks without a reason. So this wouldn't really be a nerf or a buff. Of course it would be a buff, but it's essentially a bug fix. That would help Undead a lot, would make these kinda useless Destroyers better again without breaking them and making them overpowered. They're still very expensive. They're kinda necessary, but you also don't really want them. It's weird. So Undead would benefit a lot, and we don't want bugs in the game to balance. So fix that. You can still make them weaker later, but I hope there's a way to fix that. Orcs, I think, have the upper hand over Night Elf at the moment after the Wisp nerf. And I think addressing the Serpent Wards is the way to go. Slightly. Level 1 is fine. Level 2, a little too strong. A tiny bit too strong. Make them a little weaker. And level 3, I think, should be quite a bit weaker. That would already help a lot. And these are 4 to 5 little things that shouldn't be too hard and shouldn't be game-breaking. I would love to see that. What I would also love to see is a little map change. On Battle.net at the moment, there's still Brightwater Oasis and Swamp Temple. Get rid of them. They had that chance. They didn't pick up pace. Nobody really plays them. Got replaced in W3 Champions, I think, as well. So get Autumn Leaves and Tidehunters in. They're all the rage at the moment. Can't be too wrong. Because nobody is playing Brightwater and Swamped. Nobody. The worst thing that could happen is that nobody plays Autumn Leaves and Tidehunter either. But why not freshen it up? Just swap them out. And then it's a cool little change and make things more fresh as well. That's it for me. 30 minutes. Kind of cool. This is not the most well thought out video. I'm not the most educated person in the world to do this. But I feel like I had some observations and I really wanted to share them. Let me know if I'm wrong. There's certainly so much more that can be done. And tiny things that have to be tackled. Big things that have to be tackled. Like reworking heroes or stuff like that, right? But that's not what we talk about. We talk about what is possible at the moment. A thing that would be possible in the future maybe is to give every item a certain resale value instead of a global resale value. That requires a lot of nerfing though. In general, I don't think item drop tables are really good at the moment. But let's be realistic. Let's be as neutral as possible. Summary, I would love to see the big power levels move away from human versus undead. The big strength of undead until tier 3 and the big strength of human in the later stages, because I don't think Master Banshees are a great solution. They're good. They're definitely good. But I don't think they're too crazy. So let's say undead is black and human is white. I want to see more gray instead of the black and white. That would be cool, but I know it's really hard. Maybe the Crypt Lord nerfs help already. It's too drastic. It's too much. It is too one-sided. It's too many nerfs on the one side and it's too many buffs on the other side, which I think are not really necessary in that degree. Night Elves need a little help. Would be cool if you address some like bugs and stuff. Orc might need a tiny bit of a nerf. Especially when they're getting buffed with the nerf of Frost Armor in that specific matchup. Okay, that's it. We'd love to hear feedback on this. Make sure to post it in the channels, on the Battle.net forums, on the Reddit, and of course in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope I didn't talk too much dumb shit. I backed this up by Lawlight and some others, so this can't be the worst thing in the world. Hopefully, see you soon on stream.